Okay, let's take a look at number 6. It's asking us to identify the outlier in the data set, determine how the outlier affects the different components, and then tell which measure of central tendency best describes the data with and without the outlier. So first off, let's talk about the outlier. Let's think about test scores for a minute. Let's say you usually get scores of A's, 90, 92, 94, 95, 96, 98. And then all of a sudden you get an F, a 53. That 53 would be considered an outlier because it just doesn't fit in with what you normally get. The same idea here applies to these numbers. Notice that in number 6, most of these numbers are in the tens range except for 5, which is kind of the odd duck of the group. He's the outlier. So we're going to go through and we're going to do all the calculations, and then we're going to throw 5 out and do them again, see what happens to the numbers. So to start off here, we're going to have to work with the mean. And for the mean, we've got a total there, and we add up all the numbers, 5, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16, that adds up to 91. And remember, what you do when you're figuring out the mean then is you divide by how many numbers are on the list, which is 7. And when I do 91 divided by 7, I get 13. Okay, the median is the middle number, so all I have to do there is count in from the outsides. And as I do that, I stumble upon the middle number is perfectly 14. Remember, if there's two middle numbers, you add them up and divide by 2. The mode is the number that shows up most often, 16. And then the range is the difference of the big and the small, so 16 minus 5, which is going to be 11. Okay, so now we're going to go back through and do this without the outlier. So we're going to kind of forget 5 exists and figure this out without the 5. Okay, so let's start with the mean. We're going to add them all up, again, not including the 5. So I got 12 plus 13, which is going to make 25, plus 14 is 39, plus 15 is 54, plus 16 and 16, or in other words 32, is 86, but now I'm dividing by 6 because there's only 6 numbers I'm looking at from the 12 to the 16. And when I do 86 divided by 6, I get 14.3. Alright, so what happened to the mean? The average went up, and that should make sense to you. Again, let's go back to the idea of your homework scores. If I get rid of a low score, what happens to your grade? It goes up. That's the same thing that happened here. I got rid of the low number. It went up. Alright, the median is the middle number when they're in order, so I'm counting in from 12 and 16, and here now I have two middle numbers, 14 and 15. So again, when you have two middle numbers, average them. Add them up and divide by 2. When I do 29 divided by 2, that's 14.5. So the median went up, but that's again because I got rid of a number on the low end. Alright, the mode is the number that shows up most often. That's still 16. That did not change. Really taking out a low number, unless it was the number that showed up most often by itself, would not impact anything. Same for a big number. Alright, and then the range. The range here now is going to be 16 minus 12. Well, the range shrunk way down because I've narrowed the set of numbers. So the range went to 4. Okay, so now what you're going to be doing here is tell which measure of central tendency best describes the data with and without the outlier. So which of these numbers comes closest to demonstrating the numbers that are on this list? When we're talking about with the outlier, the range is not generally going to be the answer because the range is a far spread. So we'll forget that. We'll just look at the mean, the median, and the mode. The number that best shows where most of these numbers are, all of them, including the 5, would probably be either the mean or the median because it's kind of in the middle of this set here. There's some below, there's some above. The mode is way up towards the bigger end. Even though there's a couple of them, it really doesn't best represent the numbers. So with the outlier, you could best make a case for the mean or the median, the 13 or the 14. Alright, now if we get rid of the 5 and we look at these numbers without the outlier, you've actually still got a lot of good choices here. The mean and the median kind of in the middle here, right in this range. You've got some numbers beneath and some numbers above, and those both show pretty well that data set. So again, the mean and the median there will best represent those numbers in terms of central tendency.